Hello, everybody. It's me, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. It's Saturday afternoon. How's it going? I've got a great, maybe not so scary, but a very, very different encounter here that I want you guys to check out. I think it might be about a dog man. I'll let you guys decide when I get to the end of the story here. I did this story actually last Tuesday on Spaced Out Radio. I moonlight on Tuesdays and Thursdays sometimes for Duke Sullivan and do the cryptid report. So I've been on about a dozen times now. And when I get to call, Duke's out researching. Good old Davey at Spaced Out Radio. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Awesome show. He calls me into duty. And this was well received. Before I get into it real quick, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob. I know a lot of you have. Do me a favor. Share it with your friends. Share it with people. Let's get this out. Let's build up the subscription base. I would appreciate that immensely. And as you know, our flagship is Texas Front Porch. We have 4 live shows per week. Texas Front Porch. 6:30 Central. Jason and Tex sit down and talk. On Wednesdays, Jason McLean questions everything. I typically sit in with Jason. We talk about some weird stuff going on. My show, Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob, as you know, is Central Time at noon. And Jessica Jones, Remote Viewing Investigations with Jessica, 8 p.m. Central. Jessica and I were on last night and did a great show about the Portlock Massacre in Alaska. Go check that out. Enough of that. Let's get on with this story. Again, this was emailed to me by a subscriber. If you want to send me any of your stories, beyondbmr@gmail.com. Roscommon, Michigan in 2019, a researcher went out into the woods and he came across a dead carcass of a bear. And you're probably saying, well, what's so interesting about that? Number one, you don't find many, and when you do, you know, it takes you back a little bit, I must admit. And the thing about this story is this bear was sliced literally from his throat all the way down to his underside of his belly. And all of his entrails were removed, but the only thing that was eaten was the kidney, the liver, the lungs, the heart, the innards, like the intestines and stuff like that, was just kind of flopped out, wasn't eaten. And another weird thing about this is none of the meat, none of the actual meat of this bear was eaten. It was just everything on the inside, all the high protein organs, right? So he thought this was really strange, and this researcher, let's just call him, I always like that name, Jimmy. I'm going to use Jimmy again. I don't know what his name, but I don't want to refer him to as researcher every time. Let's say Jimmy. Calls the DNR. They do come out. One guy from the DNR does come out and inspects it and said, hey, man, the DNR officer says to Jimmy, probably a cougar attack. He goes, but you know what? Don't report this to anybody. Just keep it on the down low. So the DNR officer leaves. Now, the thing about this, a cougar attack, cougars typically, and trust me, I'm not a zoologist, they usually pounce on their prey, and it's usually they pounce on top of them, right? And they take their mouth and they get them in the back of the neck and typically just break their neck. And they're not very discriminatory about what they eat. I think they just gnaw and gnash at the carcass. And cougars are common in Roscommon. There's DNA that shows they're there. Not to mention they've been found there, and there are also black bears there. But a cougar also, that's not their number one prey either. They'd rather tackle a deer or something smaller, something that they can easily, something's not going to fight back. A deer certainly might get you with the horns, the antlers. A deer A deer's easier. The black bear, you don't hear much of that. And not to mention, you guys, it was slashed from the throat down the belly and opened. It's almost like it was pulled open surgically, and everything was, as I mentioned earlier, discriminately eaten. So right there, that does not sound right to me. So Jimmy gets two of his buddies a week later. He wants to go back and investigate the area again. So what they did was they went back to the area where Jimmy found the dead carcass of the bear. And they panned out in three directions. One guy went north, another guy went east, another guy went west. If there was a fourth, they would have covered the entire compass, I'm sure. And they said, let's pan out about 3 miles into the forest. And they do. And they said, let's reconvene at such and such an hour back here where the carcass of the bear was. One of the guys comes back with a picture which appeared to be a footprint, about 17 inches long, about 6.5 inches wide, with what appeared to be like 3 toes, kind of faded. And the other guy came back with a print that was about 11 inches long and about 5 inches wide. But this just had 3 pronounced toes. And also, you could see that it had claws coming out of the 3 toes, like fingers. So, to me, I'm thinking, wow. What I'm thinking is, this makes sense, right? It's 3 sharp claws coming up, a slash of the throat. What is that? I guess the first thing that came in my head was Dogman. That's what this guy said in his report. Excuse me, in his email. But, there's 2 prints. There's significant prints, right? There's one print that maybe it's a Bigfoot, who knows? But the other print was really distinguished. And again, I made mention that the guy took pictures. He didn't send me the pictures, of course, so we'll have to wait and see on that. If he sends them over, I asked for a request for those. I don't think, since he didn't want to come on air, I don't know if he's going to do that, but the story is still interesting to me. And what really makes it interesting is these guys call the DNR. And now the DNR comes out just not with one person, but they come out with like 5. And the DNR agents say, hey, take us to this area where these prints were. They showed them the prints on their cameras or however they took the pictures. And they went to this 2 separate locations. DNR agents look at it. They don't say anything until they all reconvene back at the area, or the original area where the original carcass of the bear was. So, yeah, they get together. The DNR says, look, this is a cougar attack. Well, these 3 guys are having nothing with that, right? They're like, no, you guys, come on. What's going on here? They said, look, it's a cougar attack, and leave it at that. And, in fact, Jimmy made mention that they got really up in their face about it in a threatening manner. So to avoid any controversy or conflict or get thrown in jail, these 3 guys say, yeah, whatever. Okay, it's a cougar. So they leave. I hate to give the government. Well, I don't even like talking about the government. It seems like a lot of these encounter stories that you come across or you even read, always the government trying to cover up whatever. And I get it in instances you don't want to talk about it and say, hey, who's going to say it's a dog man or some other cryptid? You don't want to have people all up in arms, scared or whatever. I get it. But this isn't the logging industry. This is Roscommon, Michigan. It's the woods. We're not going to lose money because we don't log out there. I can see where it's covered up, perhaps in the Pacific Northwest, where money is involved. This is simply the woods, you guys. I've been through Roscommon before. It's a nice area. But it's always, it's almost like the government thinks we're stupid. You know, these guys are experienced researchers, probably hunters. They probably know what they're talking about. And I, who've only hunted several times in my entire life, and just from knowledge, know that there was no cougar that did that. Nothing slices something from throat to belly and just takes out the innards, right? Hey, if I'm wrong, you guys, leave it in the comments, but I doubt it. So it was something and it wasn't no bear. Or excuse me, it was no cougar. So I thought that was interesting. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, come check us out on Texas Front Porch. Of course, with our 4 shows every night. Subscribe, Bigfoot, Michigan Route. Share it out. Share it out. Let's grow this up. And by the way, for anybody going to be in Alabama, June 10th and 11th, I'll be down there. Tex will be down there. Jason will be down there. We're speaking. And Jessica Jones will probably make an appearance as well. Jessica and I will be taking selfies. We'll be signing arms, whatever part of the body you want to stick out, we'll take care of for you. Or just bring some paper. Just bring some paper. We don't want to get too much trouble down there. You guys have a great day. Have a great Saturday. Bigfoot Michigan Rob. He's out. I'll talk to you later.